Hello, everyone, and welcome to Doing Business in Bentonville. My name is Andy Wilson, and I'm so excited about this podcast. It is going to be exciting. If you are thinking about AI and supply chain, now is the time to lean in because the experts are in the room. We just finished this great live event talking about this topic. And now you're going to get to hear a summary of this. Plus, the entire topic is recorded, and we're going to share that later. But let's get straight to it today. First of all, let me introduce Matt Waller. Dr. Waller, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's so great to be. I love being across from you. Hanging out with you because I feel like I get really smarter after I talk to you. I don't know. Your intelligence just flows. So. Dr.
I'm just saying random things, so good for you.
Well, first, Dr. Waller is a professor at our great school, University of Arkansas, Sam Walton College of Business. And Dr. Waller's, you can check him out on LinkedIn. You can see all of his things that he does and he's done and what he works on, the companies he works for, the books he's written, all of that is there on LinkedIn. If you don't follow Matt Waller, you should. Because you'll learn and be smart.
Well, and my books are particularly good if you have insomnia. that's what they were designed for. So.
Okay, well, there we go, guys. Great bedtime reading. So here we go. Well, Dr. Waller, thank you again for making this happen. And we've got two distinguished guests with us today. I know you're going to introduce them. We're going to get straight away into this. So again, Matt, thank you. What a great morning we had.
Oh, it was wonderful.
At the Supply Chain Hall of Fame, located here in Northwest Arkansas. What a great facility.
It's the right place for it.
It is, absolutely. And then as you look across the wall there, all the people that have gone in front of us and what they've done for the supply chain.
Well, and that Supply Chain Hall of Fame is the CSCMP Supply Chain Hall of Fame, and CSCMP is in Chicago. But the Hall of Fame is here, where it should be. Mm-hmm. It's a really nice facility. And I was surprised it was full this morning.
Absolutely. I'm not at all.
With supply chain, why would you want to hear people talk about supply chain?
Because it's AI and supply chain, number one. And because we're reading about AI multiple times a day, it's really leading us. And, at Doing Business in Bentonville, one of the things when we began is around this whole space of omnichannel, which is AI.
Right, yeah.
And so, everyone has so much interest. So let's get to the key topics and the things that we talk about, because I know our people are like, okay, you got to tell us what's going on, and the experts are in the room.
They are.
So let's do it. Okay.
Well, Brian, thank you for joining us today. And Brian, I know you moved here within the last year, and you are leading the Vaux team at ArcBest, and the Vaux team is utilizing hardware and software in very innovative ways to make warehouse management more effective and efficient. And your background, I remember reading about them hiring you, and I was really impressed because you had worked with Boston Dynamics on warehouse automation kinds of issues, and you had been working for Bain as a consultant and many other things. So thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Sure.
And Brad, of course, you've been around for quite a while. So Brad, I know you're a two-time alum, undergrad and grad of the Sam Walton College of Business, but you have an incredible background in managing a wide variety of things. I mean, you managed hourly labor when you were running McDonald's. And I personally think that kind of experience where you're dealing with the customer right there in your face and hourly employees, that's a lot to juggle.
It's definitely a learning curve, for sure.
But you also have experience in technology at J.B. Hunt, Walmart, and now leading Deloitte's efforts in end-to-end supply chain management. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Brian, I'm going to start with you. And of course, one technology that Vaux has that's really impressive, and I found amazing when I first visited you and I had the tour of the Vaux facility is the autonomous forklifts. I know you have more than that, and I know you already had some experience in robotics and automation in the warehouse environment. But what made you lean towards that? What got you interested in?
Yeah, I've had the good fortune of kind of getting on this trend of industrial automation and machine vision and robotics over the course of my career after leaving consulting. And as you mentioned, had the opportunity with Boston Dynamics to kind of really see a group that's at the forefront of what's possible with robotics and using these AI tools to tangibly illustrate what's possible with physical robotics and what they're able to do. But then when I came across what they're doing in Vaux here within ArcBest is looking at a specific application, and as we're starting to understand, I think the world is looking at AI. Trying to say it's all about the application. There's these foundational models that the big tech companies are building, but then how are companies applying it? And here we have a business that's applying it to equipment that exists. We don't really have to build new robotics. There are a lot of forklifts out there in the world operating in a very, often chaotic and disorganized environment in warehouses. If we look at that, and saying how do we automate that, and they're not going straight towards full automation. We're saying how do we put a solution in place that adds value today and then uses this technology to further automate it. And so the building blocks that Vaux has built, and then the opportunity to come in and create a business and grow a business out of that is just a phenomenal opportunity. And I'm really enjoying working with the people that are on the team and our customers. It's very enjoyable to work with our customers and help them figure out how to add value, and building this has been a lot of fun. It's what a lot of people might not, if you're joking about your books, a lot of people might not think that warehouse automation is the most exciting in the world, but it is what gets me up in the morning. I'm excited to be doing it.
Yeah. One thing I want to underline here, Brad, what you said, because as we talk about it, the price tag of AI is so expensive. I think I want to underline what you said, that you can work with some existing equipment here, right? Is that use some existing equipment and use AI with that? Is that correct?
Yeah. So we have. It's a forklift. The idea of a forklift exists. Yeah. We do. We have. Take some work to put our sensor suite and get a forklift working with ours. So we have our portfolio of forklifts. We don't necessarily just outfit a customer's existing forklifts, but the idea that there are forklifts and they work. Yeah. We don't have to convince a customer that a forklift will work. Right. And they're reliable. They can be maintained and whatnot. But then getting them to work in an autonomous way and improving safety and data integrity using a solution like this
and accuracy.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I think that's just a real important point that people, when they're looking at this, instead of shying away, lean into it, because there's options here, is what I've heard, opportunities, and we'll get it. And just so everyone knows, these guys, everyone will have their contact information on our website, so don't worry about that. If they have questions, they can reach out to you. Okay, but great point. Thank you.
Well, so Brad, are you seeing lots of interest in this area as well?
In warehouse automation? Oh, absolutely. Warehouse automation it's been top of mind for warehouse operators for a decade or two. I think the interesting thing is we saw the development of, ASRS systems over time, right? Conveyance systems, things of that nature. What's interesting now, though, is the application of AI on top of the automation that's been built, right? And it's further enhancing it. So optimizing, slot selection to match incoming trucks or pick paths, for example, right? So concept of interleaving is being unlocked at a much more efficient scale through leveraging AI models to help optimize routes and processes. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of interest in the warehouse space among every warehouse and supply chain.
Well, a lot of times when people are thinking about robots and automation, they're thinking about humanoid robots. And I know your robots are forklifts.
Right.
So how does this fit into your view of the future and where it's going?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of excitement around humanoids, and I think for good reason. I mean, well, it's fascinating to see a robot that looks like one of us and doing things that we wish we could do, and the reason why that technology is taking off is basically on the manufacturing front. Most robotic applications, you can design a robot to do it, a purpose-built robot to do that application, but chances are that application doesn't, there aren't enough instances of that application for it to be economically worthwhile to design a robot for it. Now, so a humanoid robot is the ultimate general purpose robot. Now, how do you get it to work? And now that's where the AI and some of the techniques where, with cameras and sensors on people, the 60 Minutes episode, the other week where they had the 60 Minutes host outfitted, Boston Dynamics had the 60 Minutes host, outfitted with sensors, and they're showing how just a person moving around and doing something could then be used to simulate and train the robot to do that over time. And so that's where the AI and the software piece of it comes together with the potential to manufacture at scale, and the scale manufacturing enables the cost and quality, of the equipment to be a bit better. It's still a ways off to really figure out how to truly use that, and that's where I guess we come around to say, okay, on the forklift side of what we're doing, we have our approach is to have this kind of remote Tele-Op approach where we say we can't automate everything, or it would take a lot of investment in infrastructure and process management to say we're going to define the process. We're not going to change the process, and then we can fully automate it. That's not reality. Warehouses change their processes all the time. So we have a solution that designs in kind of human remote teleoperation from the beginning to do the parts that are difficult to automate. We automate what we can over time, though. That human teleoperation is the signals and the input and the data of how to do things is training an automated system to automate more and more of that over time as we make progress.
Great.
When I think about your autonomous forklifts and human-in-the-loop autonomous forklifts, you're getting all kinds of data because you're picking things, you're putting them away. The robot is seeing where things are, and when you think about transportation management systems and warehouse management systems, the data is such a problem still. And here we are in 2026. You wouldn't think it would be a big problem. Is this something you all are addressing as well with this?
Yeah, I would say we absolutely see that. I mean, I'd say with our solution today, when you have an automated system or robotic system moving pallets in a warehouse, you have a record of where those pallets are moving. And so you have good data about where those pallets are. Whereas a manual forklift driver will put a pallet wherever they find a space to put a pallet, and you don't necessarily know exactly where that is. So just by using the solution, you have better data. But then we're also, a lot of times I define our market space and that where we're working as just this idea of digital warehouse, or the digitization of warehousing, and through machine vision and other techniques where there are better ways of seeing where your freight is, and we're bringing that kind of just better data integrity about if a customer knows where their freight is in their warehouse, that better data integrity just amplifies the value of their WMS system and the AI tools that they do want to use that are providing guidance about what to do next and activities.
One thing that comes to my mind is being a user of what you're talking about in a Walmart store, is that we would talk about speed all the time. And, speed is critical. Speed is profit. If lack of speed is all the bad things. What I hear you're talking about, Brian, is the speed of getting the things in the right place, getting them, and quickly in the right place, know where they are. So that way you're not wasting time finding those again, right, getting them on the truck, et cetera, getting them ultimately to the consumer or whoever that is. And I think that's one of the things, Matt, when you talk about the AI, is speed. Speed is critical to any business you're in. And I because I had read, you talked about this. I read something about, you talked about it recently, and I just heard you recently too at the event, but you talked about speed.
Yeah.
That's critical to everything we're doing, or you would not invest these millions in the AI, right?
And I would add to that, it's speed of decision making. And if you step back, when I took on Vox, I said, well, how do we make decisions? So it doesn't have anything to do with AI. Maybe it's a tangent, but how do we make decisions faster and iterate? So speed of decision making, and then you think about what information do we have to make those decisions, and can we trust that information? Well, if I can trust the information, then I can make decisions faster. Yeah. And then you get into the physical world, and then you kind of get to this space of like, well, maybe slow is fast, because if we take our time and if we make sure that the material is in the right place and we know where it is, then we have the information to make faster decisions.
Yeah.
Because
yeah. Thank you.
That's a really
it ties in. And I think you're right. Like, first, you don't want to automate or speed up bad processes, right? And so to Brian's point, right?
Yeah.
The automated forklifts are placing pallets and freight in slots and has a record, right? We see very, very often, like, warehouses run as efficiently as they run. There's still a lot of room. There's lost product clogging slots. There's expired product sitting there that could have been cleared out. By optimizing things like that, you get better utilization of the warehouse space itself, right? And so I think there's a big component there. But the other piece is quick decision making. You don't have groceries delivered to your house in 30 minutes without rapid decisions being made all across the supply chain, right? You don't enable that type of rapid delivery without rapid decisions in your warehouse, right? And then further upstream. But I think they're all tied in together. Right?
Well, it begins at that warehouse. It all begins there. Before it gets to your front door, it begins there. Yep. It's got to go, then if it goes to the store, then to your house, or directly from the warehouse to your door. Right. That's the critical piece that we're talking about. As a consumer, when I know I get told it's going to be there in 2 hours and it's 5 hours or the next day, I'm not a very happy consumer.
Yep.
But it begins what you're talking about. That's where it begins.
Well, Brad, you see a lot of different organizations, and I know you've been really focused on end-to-end supply chain management, but there's a lot of noise around what AI can do in each of these areas: inventory management, transportation management, warehouse management, forecast management, et cetera, et cetera. What are you seeing there?
It's interesting. We discussed this a little bit earlier as well, right? But 2 years ago, I would say there's a lot of noise, right? A lot of hype around everything, right? What we've seen, especially with the organizations making such strides in the LLMs and then the rise of agentic AI, what we're really seeing is a lot of that hype and noise, when targeted to proper use cases, are actually starting to come to reality and be implemented and within the supply chain. So if we kind of look across the spectrum, we have demand planning that now incorporates consumer sentiment and social trends, right? We have material resource planning that can incorporate environmental impact and political risks and the speed at which raw materials are discovered and project out months or years in advance, right? Fast forward into warehouse, right? We've talked a lot about that already and the capabilities that are there. You have drones being implemented in warehouses to manage inventory, right? Cycle counts, audit counts, things of that nature. And then even on the transportation side, we have a lot of autonomy being built into the actual trucks, right? And so we see those starting to surface more and more in pilots, right? So autonomous trucking. And then we see the rise of really advanced optimization that incorporates not just weather and traffic as it is right now, but forecasted weather 3 days out, 5 days out, right? We have projected traffic impacts from historical time series data, but they can incorporate that and then project out into the future, right? And AI is able to consume so much data and influence the decision making, even in route optimization. So we're seeing a lot of use cases come to fruition, and so a lot of creative minds are out there working on solving the next set of problems. And so what was hyped 2 years ago is reality now, and what's hyped now, there's a good chance you'll see some of it come to fruition in the next year or two.
That's really a good point. How about you? What are you seeing? I know when I think about autonomous and human in the loop, and especially for forklifts in a DC, there's a lot of noise there as well in terms of, what this can do, what these kinds of things can do. But within a DC, there's so many different operations.
Right.
Where does this specifically fit in?
Yeah, so we're focused on moving pallets. There's a lot of work in DCs around, especially fulfillments and working with eaches and individual boxes. When I was at Boston Dynamics, we had a case handling or box handling robot. So we were not touching the pallets. We were down at the box level. And even then we had to tell people, well, we're not at the eaches level, we're at the case level. So what we're doing today with Vaux, we're at the pallet level. We're moving pallets using forklifts and that sort of thing. And helping companies that are at that stage in their warehousing, and just really focused on how do we nail this segment of the world. There are all sorts of challenges and all sorts of other segments of it, and I know there's a lot of all sorts of challenges in fulfillment and in return handling and all of that sort of stuff. And but where we're really focused is on the pallet movement. Say, how do we help companies have greater both visibility and control over kind of moving pallets and knowing where their pallets are, and then reducing their costs. I mean, ultimately it's cost reduction. I mean, it's as you mentioned, you want the consumer wants their product either delivered to them or in the store when they go to the store to get it. Obviously any company, it's, the supply chain is a cost. If you could manufacture it and just have it show up at the, where your consumer wants it, and snap your fingers, you would. Everything that goes into getting it there is a cost center. And, all of our effort is just how do we reduce that cost,
right.
And get that product to where the consumer wants it as fast as possible. And so, as excited as we are around the technology and the services and everything, it's all about reducing cost at the end of the day. And I think we're having success with that with our customers.
It's good. With automation and AI both, a lot of companies right now are in the piloting phase of some of these cutting edge tools. What are some success factors in your mind in terms of taking a successful pilot and operationalizing?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's not a one size fits all answer here. Small organizations are more startup like, right? So that they have fewer constraints, fewer governance controls, right? Allow them to move more quickly. And so for organizations like that, I'd just be very specific about the use cases that are most relevant, and make sure you build out the guardrails and then the metrics to track it, right? The larger organizations, right? the risk to a failure or implications to a large supply chain are higher, but they can all be controlled, right? And put the right governance in place and manage the risk accordingly. But it still comes back to the same fundamental, like start with the pilot, start with the use case, expand to a second pilot, expand to a third area, right? And let it grow almost organically, but don't fear the technology. Just learn how to embrace it and drive value back to your bottom line or to speed to the market, things of that nature.
So, Brian, I know you've got an interesting experience with this.
Yeah, we were talking a little earlier about when you talk about implementation success, successful implementation. We had made me think of a customer that we have who ran a pilot, and the pilot went well, and went well enough that they said, okay, we're going to move forward with this. We're going to apply this and roll this out in our other facilities. And in the second facility that we applied it to, it went really well. So it went much better. And I think that we were trying to work with the customer, say, well, what was different? And we think what was different was when they went into that second facility, they said, okay, this is what we're doing. Like we're committed, we're doing this, and everybody said, okay, this is what we're doing. How do we use this tool and this solution to make our lives better, to get better productivity and to use this? And I think versus the pilot, like I said, it worked well, but I think people are, okay, here's some technology to experiment with. Let's see how this works. But we still kind of have to get our day job, get our work done. And so I think that what we experienced there was the difference between just, like buy-in and kind of being dedicated to it and saying, hey, we're going to put this in. And then the experience and the productivity and the performance of the system it all kind of went a lot more smoothly, I suppose, with that.
It's kind of like the burning of the ships kind of mentality, right? We're doing this. We better figure out how to do it. The ships are gone,
Yeah, it's interesting. So we had touched on this a little bit earlier, but to your point, like if reflecting on processes where the implementation went well, right? And it comes down to we see patterns that are successful, and it's top-down support, right, in organizations that are making big shifts, especially in technology, education of the organization, making sure the organization understands what's coming and what the risks are, but what the benefits are and how they can work to support that type of transition. And then finally, the actual change management, right, especially with technology. We all know how fast technology changes, right? And our kids are probably the first one to, tell us that we're behind the times. But the point there, though, is that there's a lot of change in technology, and managing that change is really important within an organization to ensure that programs are successful.
Yeah. You talking about change. And of course, I grew up at Walmart, and Sam Walton said the most consistent thing at Walmart was change. So he started with that. And it was part of our DNA. Yep. If it wasn't, you probably didn't last, there. And one day he even asked me when I was running human resource at Walmart. He said, "Could we put change on the evaluation?" I said, "We need to talk about that with some other people." In other words, I talked to lawyers about it. But he was making a point. Change was most consistent. I think we have to go back to that. Is that if you're listening and you're involved in this, I think the mindset that you all have talked about is very critical about us all being open to this. Because what Doug McMillon said, former CEO of Walmart, he said, AI will affect everyone and their job and their roles.
Yeah, and there was that article in the Wall Street Journal that he wrote.
Yes, exactly. So I think as our viewers listen to you all, I think they have to be very open-minded. And I think they've got to think about, yes, change is going to happen. It's going to change our jobs, our job descriptions. It's going to change a lot of things. But be open to that. Because if you're open to it and lean into it, then get the experts around, like you gentlemen, around them to help that coach and learn and train. It could be so exciting, and I look at this could be very, very exciting for not only the companies, but the consumer.
Absolutely.
Because that's really what you're working for, that ultimate consumer, whoever that is. And that can be exciting times. And I think we're at a place in our country, we've heard about AI, we've been working towards it, everything from just-in-time inventory to now. So here we are. And so I think what you gentlemen have done is really done a really good job of describing a bit, but also bringing your expertise to the table to help. It's not about job elimination, it's about job growth. If you're in a company today, I think it's about job growth. How do I learn and grow today with this new technology and do my job more efficient, better, quicker, whatever?
Right. Comes back to exactly what you said. Jobs are going to change, right? And change just has to be built into the DNA of the process.
Yes, it's exciting times, isn't it?
It is indeed.
So, okay, Matt, what I'd love to do is we sort of begin to wrap. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to make sure all three of these gentlemen, the information, you can get that on our website. And so you can contact them. But Matt, as we think about this for a minute at the top, what if I'm listening and or watching this today, what are the top 2 or 3 things I need to know? What do we need? Okay, this is a first, second, third step here. So I'd love to know that.
Yeah, this is my opinion.
Okay.
I believe, and this is a little bit of a contrarian view. I believe that the efficiency of AI and automation and the combination, because really these things are very intertwined, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's actually starting to affect macroeconomic numbers. People disagree with me in some cases. But we don't have enough data yet to know exactly, but it's unusual. You look at productivity growth on an annualized rate, the last quarter grew by almost 4.9%, almost 5%. Okay. At the same time, the labor numbers look really good. At the same time, the amount of capital, the St. Louis Federal Reserve has an article out recently that talks about how almost 20% of the GDP growth the last quarter is attributed to investment in capital expenditures around automation, AI, capital deepening, they call it. And the Phillips curve would typically say, when you start moving towards full employment, you're going to have inflation. We actually had a moderation of the most recent numbers were CPI was at 2.7 and non-core CPI at 2.6. At any rate, I feel like there is evidence it's starting to happen, but also just personal observation. There are some companies that are leaning into this, and there are some companies that are not leaning into this. So my number one takeaway is there are practical ways to implement automation and a distribution center for moving pallets. There are practical ways to implement AI in many different ways throughout the end-to-end supply chain. Companies that are too concerned about governance, meaning they're too risk averse, they're not moving forward fast enough, I think they're going to lose. We saw this with the World Wide Web. Right?
Yeah.
Not so much the internet, but the World Wide Web, right? Some companies jumped on it and some were slow.
Yeah.
And it had long-term implications and affected shareholder value. And I think one of the ways to learn to use automation, to learn to use AI is to do. You can't just evaluate. You've got to spend the money to do it. That's my number one takeaway.
I think I'm going to agree with you, because when I study the numbers, they tell the truth, and there they are. When you get underneath the numbers, as you so well explained, I agree with you on your thoughts on that. Now, okay, Brad and Brian, what is one or two things you would leave our guests with, our viewers with? Because that's excellent. I mean, I know if I was watching this right now, I would go to work on what you just said. Okay, because the numbers are behind it. Okay, so, but gentlemen, what would you talk about from your perspective? What?
Yeah, I partly to reinforce Matt's point, right? If we look at earnings releases and 10Ks from organizations over the last few quarters, you're seeing improved productivity. You're seeing reductions in capital and expenses within the organizations, and you're seeing record profits. And those typically don't parallel, right? And so I think it reinforces what we're starting to see in the data. And then to Matt's point, at a more macroeconomic level, we're seeing it in other data sets as well. Organizations that aren't actively pursuing AI right now, they're going to be behind. They're losing their competitive advantage in their supply chain because other organizations are already ahead. And so if you think about it from the lens of corporate governance and SWOT analysis and things of that nature, they're losing, right? And so the advice would be, get started now. Don't wait. You can learn so much. AI is such a powerful tool. Use AI to teach you, right? Reach out to organizations that specialize in moving companies forward, especially in supply chain, right? And so don't wait. Get started now. Ask for help.
Great advice. Great advice.
Indeed.
Love it. Yeah. Okay, Brian. We're going to have to end it with you, man.
All right.
I mean, I'm sorry, but yeah.
Well, I suppose, we're on the ground helping companies do this. And, in our niche of warehouse automation, we like to say we're the fastest way for a company to begin this automation journey with automated forklifts because of our approach to, solving, challenging, sometimes chaotic environments. We can get in, we can start working with a relatively low kind of initial infrastructure cost and then get started and have a solution that reduces costs but then further automates over time. And so I would just say to the audience listening to this, if you see an interest there, we'd love to speak with you and help companies, get started and implement this, some of these tools.
Okay. Well, to our viewers, you heard it from these three gentlemen. Thank you so much. Thank you for spending the morning with us at the live event. And then thank you for coming to the studio and recapping. This is such an important topic. And you got to come back this fall, though, and give us an update. Okay? So we're going to hold you. You got to come back. Okay, this is so exciting, and yeah, I don't care who you bring. Just let's fill this room up.
I'll hold you to that.
All right, well, you have an invitation right now to come back. I don't know from a standpoint of a more important topic that's facing businesses today. And I mean, what you said. I mean, all three of you, what you said. This is critical. Mm-hmm. If you bypass this or you ignore this, what scares me is when you said you lose your competitive edge. Now, you cannot lose your competitive edge to this. You got to lean into this and surround yourself with great people, great experts to teach you, to help your people in the organization and move forward. And now's your moment. Now's your moment as an owner or as a leader of an industry. You cannot ignore this, to your point. We cannot. Wow, what a great morning. We could be here all day. I love this topic. I love it. But to all of our viewers doing business in Bentonville, thank you so much. You are absolutely doing such a great job viewing, watching our program. And because of you, we're now in over 100 countries today. We have over 2,000 viewers a day now because of you. Thank you so much. And many of you are writing me on LinkedIn. Keep doing that. I'll answer your question and offer suggestions on other podcasts. We're working really hard for that. We work for you. Again, our guest today, thank you. Thank you for being here, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.